afternoon, VV Nation. Ryan here, and welcome to this week's mobile coaching app. Type in a 1 if you can hear me, if you see me. Just want to make sure all the audio and visual issues are taken care of. I know right now if you're trying to watch on Facebook Live, looks like we're having an issue there. We're trying to resolve that as quick as possible. All right. So I am filling in for Glenn today. He is doing a live stream at 1 p.m. today on Apple and to cover Amazon's earnings. So I'm sure you guys are all aware they reported earnings yesterday. I'm not going to go into too much detail. The one thing I did notice was it looks like their hardware revenue was a little bit weak on Apple side. And then as far as which caused it to gap down, last time I looked, it was relatively flat. And then Amazon looks like they were able to cut costs, so they beat their revenues, and they gapped up quite a bit. So that actually worked out pretty well for those holding Amazon. Where's the live stream he is hosting? So Daniel, that is going to be on YouTube. And as far as I know, there should be an alert set for that. So if you're subscribed to the channel, you'll get that alert, and it'll take you right to the video. So this video is going to be a little bit shorter today. We're probably going to try to keep it maybe 30, 45 minutes. Just that way everyone has a little break. And then everyone can go over to the live stream and see Glenn's coverage on Apple and Amazon. Now, as far as today, we're going to focus on market timing. I know there's a lot of, misguidance. One thing I do want to ask everyone that's watching this. Now, if you're bullish on the market, at least in the short term, type a 1. If you're more bearish on the market in the short term, type a 2. And I'm going to use the time frame, say the next 30 days. So if you're a little bit more bearish, type a 2. If you're a little bit more bullish, type a 1. And that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at some market timing signals as well, how to utilize the mobile app to find stocks and ETFs to play to both sides. So it's pretty mixed right now. 3 1s. All right, the 2s are starting to pile in. So it looks like the bearish, as far as the VectorVest indicators, one thing to get some great insight. Haas said neutral. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Again, one thing I was taught here early at VectorVest, cash is always a position. So if you're not sure what the market's going to do, and you're happy where your profits are right now, or losses, depending on your situation, sometimes, cash is a good position to be in. But as far as the VectorVest indicators right now, we do see the primary wave. That's the fastest moving market timing signal. Let's scroll down to that. That has gone down. And let's see here. That just recently went down. Yep. As of 2 days ago, shortly after the credit rating occurred. Downgrading U.S. credit rating. So the markets were definitely volatile that day. We can see that on that big red candlestick where sellers had control. However, we see some buying pressure yesterday. Almost looks like a doji candlestick there. The open and close pretty close. So that could signal a change in direction. Getting some confirmation on that today. The market did gap up based on, mostly some of these earnings. Amazon, definitely helped out with that gap up. Looks like the sellers came in. We closed the gap. So that is a good sign that we closed that gap pretty quickly. So let's go back here. All right. So first thing we're going to do is let's look at the VectorVest composite graph here. There's the 1 day. So 1 week. Let's go out to 3 months here. All right. So we do see the VectorVest composite over the last 3 months. A little bit of channel there, from May to about June. We see a little bit of channel action. Finally, the bulls took charge, breaking this level of resistance here, coming in right at just above $57. More recently, since the credit rating, now the resistance comes into play at the prior high, which was 4 candlesticks ago. So, I'd like to see some confirmation before, opening up any real positions there. Breaking that prior level of resistance here at the new high. Now, let's back up just a moment here. And we're going to go into the NASDAQ. Typically, I wouldn't do that, but today, with Apple's earnings, Amazon, the NASDAQ's been moving quite a bit today. So we're just going to look into that. This is the past 3 months here. We see a strong level of resistance coming in. See that? Just under 14,500. And let's see here. Let's back up to just a 1-day chart. All right, there's the 1-day chart. Actually, let's do 1-week chart. All right, so you can see the gap up clearly. Now, the market did start off to the upside quite a bit for maybe the first 10, 15 minutes of the market. However, there's a sharp sell-off closing that gap. Now, if you're a day trader, you know closing gaps can be pretty important or a pretty significant sign of reversal, which it did close that gap and has been on the reversal ever since. Now, if we zoom in here, let's zoom in and get a better visual of this here. All right, so you can see a gap up. Buyers took control there for the first couple candlesticks. However, sellers clearly dominated going into about 10:10. And this is why we usually say wait, 30 minutes to an hour before you jump into the market, just because, we want to see what the market is doing. Let the market come to us. We can better assess it. That first 30 minutes is known as amateur hour. So since then, if we scroll back out, we do see the NASDAQ composite still continuing to rally. A little bit of a red candlestick as of most recent. Let's see here. William, will this be available later as there is a storm coming here? Yes, this will be on our YouTube channel. So if you need to, batten down the hatches because you're storm, William, totally get it. This will be on the YouTube channel, so that way you can take a look at it. Now let's go back here. All right, so as far as our market timing signals, right now, the market is neutral. VectorVest is not going to advocate buying any stocks at this time, right? So the confirmed call and the DEW signals are both up right now. Now the confirmed call, again, that's our more conservative market timing signal, looking at price action of the VectorVest composite week over week for 2 consecutive weeks. Now the DEW looks at the market from a more technical standpoint. If we go into there, let's max this out a little bit. So we have it in a DEW signal up since June 2nd. So that has been a great signal, capturing this momentum to the upside. And it looks at a DPO or detrended price oscillator. In addition, looks at a 30-day weighted moving average. So as long as the VectorVest composite can stay above that 30-day weighted moving average and DPO stays into positive territory, this signal will remain up. Now, again, the reason why I asked if you guys were bullish or bearish for the most part is because we're going to look at some stocks, take a look at their indicators for both bullish positions and bearish. Now, if we go into, see, we're going to go to stock pick ideas. So if you're bullish right now and you want to capture some of this momentum of the market, we're going to go to high momentum stocks. Now, these high momentum stocks, this is from our Midas Touch list. So we take a look at several moving averages. So let's click on MOD here. That's the first one on the list. And let's zoom in here. We'll do a 3-month time span. All right, now this one here has got nice price action, lower left to upper right. Now, the one thing I will note here, we did gap up. Just a couple days ago there, you see that gap up. Now, since that gap up, what I do like in today's candlestick, buyers do have control. We do see a nice, strong, bodied candlestick to the upside. I would like to see that wick taken out from yesterday to confirm that momentum to the upside. Because if we can't take out that wick from yesterday, or that top wick, the high, essentially, there might be some temptation to close this gap or fade the gap. So let's go to the next one here real quick. Next, we got EXTR. Now this here, beautiful price pattern from lower left to upper right. The 3 is currently above the 8-day moving average, indicating that bullish momentum is still continuing. And in addition, it just hit a new high today. We got a nice body candlestick showing buyers in control. So everything looks good with that as well. IBP. So you can see these are momentum plays here. So as the market is still rising like it is today, these are good stocks to consider when essentially, playing that momentum to the upside. Now, IBP here, again, that 3 has been above the 8-day now it looks like back since about June 4th. If we take a look at the chart here, we can zoom in so you guys get a better visual of that. Yeah, it looks like about June 4th, that 3 did cross above the 8. Let's see here. I just put the crosshair cursor on that candlestick. As soon as that 3 crossed above the 8, we see a nice strong body candlestick. Ever since then, momentum has been to the upside. Let's back out real quick. Here we've got TBBK. Now for this position here, we see some selling pressure on today's candlestick. Let's go to 1 month, zoom in here. Now we see that top wick there with that selling pressure as we get closer to that resistance zone. Therefore, in addition, if we look here, look at the volume starting to drop off, right? So we want to see some conviction behind these moves. So I'd like to see price action cross above the prior high, that level of resistance. In addition, I want a strong volume on there. Can you get earnings in there too? As far as the mobile app, you cannot add earnings to it. These would be all the indicators here that you could add. Earnings, you could do earnings per share, but not like the reported earnings. For that, you would need the desktop version, and it will let you know when earnings is being announced. And that is something that, potentially Glenn can show you in the upcoming video. That's actually a great idea. I'll mention that to him. Now, other plays, other than momentum plays, if you're bullish on the market, right? Now, I've been doing videos on oil. I did one yesterday on top dividend oil plays. I did one last week just on, generally speaking, some of the best oil stocks out there that we're able to find using the VectorVest 7 system. So I'm going to click on petroleum. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but OPEC just had their meeting today. I was on oilprice.com. Let me pull that up real quick here. So the article I found is that the panel is unlikely to tweak its oil policy at Friday's meeting. And then as of today, that was the Reuters. And then oilprice.com, their headline was OPEC Plus not expected to alter oil production policy amid price rally. So oil had another big day today. If I look at Brent, it's up 1.14%. WTI crude almost up almost a quarter percent, 1.25%. So a lot of big movement there in oil. So let's take a look at some petroleum stocks. Here we've got Bor, Noble, Transocean, Valaris, and Precision Drill at the top of the list here. Now again, these stocks are in order by VST. That's overall value, safety, and timing. You can change the rank of these, right? Now, if you tend to be a little bit more bearish on oil or bearish on the market, oil doesn't necessarily go with what the rest of the stocks are doing. Kind of does its own thing. But you can restore on other things here. If you want to focus on a safety aspect, you can click on relative safety or RS. If you want to focus on a dividend aspect, you could do yield, safety, and growth. So that way it gives you the best combination of a dividend's yield. So that way you can get some good yield potential there, as well the safety of that dividend and the company's ability to grow that dividend. Now let me back this up a little bit. So let's take a look at these stocks here. We're going to go. All right, so here's a 1 month. So on OPEC's meeting today, we see a nice green body candlestick. Prior to today's meeting, we saw a little bit of a pullback. I'd imagine everyone's kind of anticipating OPEC's announcement today. So let's scroll there. So yeah, 3 still above the 8. The volume has dropped off a little bit, as we noticed in the last week or two. So that is something to take note of. Quite as much conviction right now. But here's another one. We got Noble. The 3 has been above the 8 the entire last month, showing that momentum to the upside. Just hit a new high today off of OPEC's oil meeting. And if we look at the volume, however, the volume has been dropping off. So it looks like the volume's been dropping off typically. Let's go to the next one here. Yeah, even this one as well. Volume's getting a little bit lower over the past month. Let's go to 3 months here to get a better trend here. It was high earlier this week. But generally speaking, it looks like it's a little bit lower than it has been. So we'd like to see a little bit more conviction. This one here, Rig Transocean, this one's down today. Ironically, the other 2 were up. Now we do see a level of resistance come into play here that may have a some of a factor to that may have a factor when it comes to the price action today. However, we do see a bottom wick here. If we go to 1 month, we do see a slight bottom wick. So yeah, it looks like mostly for the most part sellers do have control. So this one, it's in a channel right now. So, you can see it's been channeling, it looks like it's about mid-July. I'd like to see it break above that resistance on strong volume just to show some conviction in its movement. So let's scroll to the next one here. Here's Valaris. This one took off quite a bit, since June. We see that 3 above the 8-day moving average. Nice, strong buy rating. In between William Jurgens, 1.5. Now, this one is also a little bit, so it gapped up today. However, it has been pulling back. So this one, we want to buy rising stocks, right? Right now, VectorVest is not advocating buy any stocks at this time. The only reason I'm showing you this, because some people just want to play something, and if you're going to play something, I'm going to at least point you somewhere in the software where you can find some potential money. Oil's been hot right now. Like I said, definitely on your own time. We don't have a whole lot of time today just because we're doing the earnings live stream. Watch the videos I did. I did one last night and then one the week before on oil stocks and how to find those in the VectorVest 7 system. I like keeping it simple, and I like VectorVest doing the work. I've been here for years. I trust the indicators. That's why I let the system do the work for me. Those stocks were not just stocks that I just randomly picked in those videos. Those are some of the, according to our indicators, some of the best oil stocks out there and some of the best oil dividend stocks. So watch those 2 videos. Jim, I meant earnings on graph. Now, as far as earnings on a graph, Jim, you cannot do that on the mobile app here. That's actually not a bad idea. So just double checking here, because sometimes they're always adding stuff to the mobile app. So I just want to double check. See your lower graph. Let me check again here. Indicator none. No, so they haven't done that one yet. Support resistance. But yeah, on the VectorVest 7 program, you can get that earnings on a graph. In addition, we do have the earnings viewer, so you could see upcoming earnings. You could even filter it out to a watch list, which I think is a great feature. So, if I own a bunch of stocks and I don't want to have to be, looking on everywhere to find out where the earnings are, you can literally filter it out by your watch list and see when the earnings are coming up or, past earnings. Now let's back this up a little bit here. So yeah, here's Valaris, starting to channel a little bit to the right side. We see some resistance from the prior high 4 candlesticks ago, and we see a level of support down at 72. So I'd like to see a breakout to the upside of this channel. If you're already in this position, just remember that level of support at 72, which is the bottom of this channel. Now, we got PDS here over the last month. It's not going to get much smoother than this as far as price action. Can you add 3 and 8 to the graph? And you're talking about the 3 and 8 day exponential, Bashir. So, yes. And actually, I do have it on the chart. The blue line is the 3-day EMA. I think it's like a darker purple or blue line. My eyes aren't getting any better. That is the 8-day exponential. So, if you want to add it, let me show you how to do that real quick. We'll go to graph settings. And you see moving averages here about halfway down the menu. So let me click on that. So you can choose simple, exponential, and weighted. You can actually have up to 3 moving averages on a mobile chart. You can add EPS to the lower graph. Brian, yeah. So in the mobile app, you can add EPS. Let's do that actually. Let's take a look at some of these earnings here. It is earnings season. Let's see what the forecasted earnings is trying to tell us. So right now we got volume, but let's switch that over to EPS. So in the mobile app, you can only have 1 lower indicator. So we switched it over to EPS. I had volume on there before. All right, earnings per share. So it looks like this earnings per share just jumped up. Let's get the big picture of earnings here. Let's go back to 6 months. So this one here, Precision Drill, it is about where it was 12 months ago. You see it dipping, jumps up, dips again, jumps up. So, it's it's kind of a not a smooth earnings, not exactly what we're looking for here. But if you're looking for a nice momentum play and you're bullish on oil, this doesn't look half bad, honestly. So let's see. Let's go here. We got HP. This one, the earnings per share EPS has been dropping, so definitely take note of that. However, if we look, that 3 and 8 day is in positive territory, showing that bullish momentum to the upside. And again, how we got here, we went to stock pick ideas over on the left. First thing we did was high momentum stocks. Second item we did was petroleum drilling. Now, the other two categories you could get into, potentially, again, VectorVest does not advocate buying stocks right now. I'm going to throw that out there. But some people are just, they itch to buy stocks. I get it. Sometimes I get the same way. Now, otherwise, we got the safest stocks here. So these are all the stocks in the database. However, we're putting the safest ones at the top of the list. And again, these are the stocks with the most consistent financial performance, right? It's just an indicator of risk. So if you're trying to, potentially de-risk your portfolio, these are some stocks you definitely want to take a look at here. So let's just take a look at this top one, STM. Now we are going to go over the indicators today. Oh, sorry. Top right, and we're going to go to view report. So if you guys have never been to this report before, anytime you pull up a stock, little 3 dots in the top right corner will take you to the stock analysis report. Now, if you're new to VectorVest, even if you're seasoned, I strongly suggest that you print one of these out. And the reason why I do that, or suggest that, because I worked on the phones for years, and when new customers call, I always suggest printing one of these out. It has all the definitions to the indicators. The more you get familiar with the indicators, the more you can use them to your benefit and make money. Because that's the whole point of having VectorVest, right? If you're not making money, if you're not really utilizing our indicators, then what's the point? So this is why I wanted to show you where to find the indicators here. So we're going to go over these indicators. All right. First, we got the buy recommendation, right? That is just a sole recommendation. For a stock to have a buy recommendation, does anyone know what a stock needs to do to get a buy recommendation? If you know what it is, type it in the comments. There's 4 things that a stock needs to have to get a buy recommendation. Now, the first thing is RT above 1. The second thing is, let me scoot this way, is VST above 1. The stock has to be above its stop price, and that's STOP. Has to be above the stop price, right? And the stock has to be diverging away from that stop price. So essentially, it's looking at overall value, safety, and timing. Got to be positive above 1, RT positive above 1, and the stock's price has to have momentum to the upside. So it's got to be above the stop price, and it's got to be diverging away from that stop price. So that's how a stock gets a buy rating. That is it. Same formula for every stock in the database. So if you don't know that, now I'm really glad I was able to share that with you. Does anybody know how we get a sell rating? Put in the comments if you know. All the price has to do is go below our stop price. We're not looking at the news, drug trials, crazy things like that for buy, hold, and sell recommendations. If the price action goes below our stop, and our stop price is just a 13-week moving average, slightly adjusted for the company's fundamentals. So if the company's got very sound fundamentals, we'll actually loosen that 13-week moving average, give it a little bit more, you could say wiggle room to grow. Now, if the company's got poor fundamentals, we're actually going to tighten that up a little bit. So that way you can get out of that position in time. Now, you can always buy back into a stock. There's nothing that says, you can't buy back. And that's what a lot of people, from experience talking to customers, when they sell a stock, they think they got to move on or wait a long time. You can always buy back into a position. But if a stock's starting to dive and you're losing profits or you're already at your stop loss, you don't want it to become emotional, right? Once you let emotions come into trading, and I day trade every day, I try to keep the emotions out. Trust me, that's probably the hardest part of trading. If you agree with me, type a 1. If emotions can be some of the hardest parts when it comes to trading. If you disagree with that, type a 2. So I'm curious if you guys feel the same way. For me, emotional trading can be the most dangerous thing. It's one of the hardest things to keep in touch. It's easy to paper trade, but once you got your real money involved, the emotions come into play. So you really got to train yourself and discipline yourself. Once you can really discipline yourself, because you can find great stocks out there. It's not hard to find great stocks, especially using the VectorVest software. But to manage those positions properly, to capture profits and to cut losses short, that is the difficult part. One, along with discipline. Yep. So Marvin, as you just noticed, I think there's like a 10, 15 second lag between what I'm saying and the actual live. So yeah, you probably just heard me talk about discipline. That's one of the hardest things. So let's go into value real quick. Now, here's value. Now, value states here is computed from forecasted earnings per share, forecasted earnings growth, profitability, interest, and inflation rates, right? So it's just what VectorVest feels that a company is worth, not based on hype, not based on what the market's doing, not based on, what the talking heads on TV are talking about. We're taking a mathematical formula, most of it's earnings, and then we also take into consideration, profitability, interest, and inflation rates. But earnings, really, that's the driver of a company. That's what's really going to push a stock company up. Now, one thing I will say about value, right? We do suggest buying undervalued stocks. There's no doubt about that. Now, the buy recommendation does not take value into consideration because we understand that profits can be made off of overvalued companies. It can be. If you look at Tesla, before the interest rates were rising, the market was going crazy. The retail traders, everyone was buying stocks. What was that, 2021 for most of the year? Well, as soon as interest rates, the Fed kind of, they put a damper on that party. They had to combat inflation, so they said we're going to, raise interest rates. Now, a lot of these companies came back down to kind of meet the valuations. A great example is Tesla. I think Tesla was at one point like $400. We valued it. I'd have to look at the chart. I think it was right around $100. Anyways, for like the first time in a long time, Tesla was undervalued. I believe it was at the beginning of this year, at the end of the year, when it was right around $120, $115. It was right around its undervalued mark. So there's great potential. If you can find good stocks like a Tesla selling off and it becomes undervalued, there's some real profit potential. Because when I saw that Tesla's finally undervalued to our metrics, I did some option plays on it, not gonna lie, and made some good money. So there's some value there with lack of better words, our value indicator. So just remember, value is not taken into consideration in the buy, hold, and sell recommendation. It is a separate entity. So stock can have a buy rating and it be overvalued. Okay, but we do suggest buying undervalued stocks. Especially if you're more conservative in nature. Now, if you're more speculative investor, more aggressive, you may not take the value as much into consideration, but never ignore it. I will say that much. Now, RV relative value. This has nothing to do with value itself. This just looks at long-term price appreciation potential compared to a AAA corporate bond over the next 1 to 3 years. So it's just, essentially, is a AAA corporate bond a better investment over the next couple of years? Or is this position, right? It's a fundamental indicator. And that's where I'm going to get next is RS. That is also a fundamental indicator. This is, I'll just read the definition. It's computed from an analysis of the consistency and predictability of a company's financial performance, debt to equity ratio, sales, volume, business longevity, price volatility, and other factors. So RVRS, those are our fundamental indicators, right? So even if you want to analyze a stock in 3 seconds, you can do it. Because if you pull it up and you look at RVRS, if they're above 1, the company's got decent fundamentals, right? And if it's below 1, it doesn't have that great of fundamentals. So let's go to the next one. Next one is our technical indicator, which is RT relative timing. Now, RT is computed from analysis of direction, magnitude, and dynamics of a stock price movement day over day, day over week, day over day, week over week, quarter over quarter, and year over year. Now, it's a trend. If the trend sorry, I can't read there for a second, dissipates, RT will gravitate towards 1. So again, this is just a technical indicator. It speaks to the magnitude. I play around with adding moving averages of RT to stocks. I'm not going to suggest any certain values because I haven't tested them I've tested them quite a bit. But if you look at like our NPI or Midas Touch, it looks at moving averages of RT. So RT is already smoothing out the price data. And then we're going to take a moving average of it to smooth it out even more to get a better sense of the trend. If you're not familiar with the NPI or Midas Touch that uses some of these moving averages of RT, they're in the graph layouts in VectorVest 7 as well. You can just type in, on YouTube, VectorVest NPI or VectorVest Midas Touch, and there'll be videos there to go into more detail. I'm just here to go over these indicators and give you some, some new thoughts, so that way we can make money. That's the goal, Now, overall rating. Most people are familiar with their VST. That's how a lot of our stocks are sorted, depending on the list you're looking at. Now, VST, just to read the definition here, it's computed from the square root of a weighted sum of the squares of RV, RS, and RT. Stocks with the highest VST ratings have the best combination of value, safety, and timing. Now, to my understanding, RT is weighted more, which would make sense because it's the only technical indicator, while RV and RS are both fundamental. And I know it's a square root of a weighted sum. I'm no mathematician, but just know it's combining the three together. RT is a little bit weighted a little bit more. But to be more technical, it is a square root of the sum. Now, we have our stop price here. I did mention this earlier. Again, that's just a 13-week moving average of the stock's performance. It's 13-week moving average of price, and then we adjust it for the company's fundamentals. So, I'm not in the data department, but if I'm going to guess, if RV and RS are high, they probably tighten up that moving average, right? If RV and RS are low, because again, those are our fundamental indicators, they're going to loosen that up. So if the company has poor fundamentals, give it more wiggle room because it's a solid company, right? If you're pretty much in a crapshoot of a stock, you probably want to tighten that up a little bit. So that way, if it does go against you, you can kind of, cut it off, a little bit earlier with losses. Again, going back to emotions and mitigating losses, that's like trader and investing 101. And we've had some videos on that. I think, I forgot who did it, but there was a Protecting Profits. It might have been Glenn. It was Protecting Profits, came out like last week or two. Great video. I watched it. Again, if you don't put stops in before you buy a stock or have some kind of objective in place, it's going to turn emotional real quick. So before you buy anything, just make sure you got a plan. That's all I'm going to say. And if your plan's not working out, stick to the plan. Worst case scenario, you close it out, live to fight another day. Now, next, we got CI, Comfort Index. This is one of my favorite indicators to look at when it comes to bottom fishing or buying the dip. And I know a lot of people like to buy the dip. Not saying I'm not going to go one way or the other on that. But if you are, take a look at this because it looks at the stock's ability to resist severe and or lengthy price declines, right? So this is a technical indicator. So if you're buying a dip and it has a low CI, and historically speaking, it just likes to stay dipped or keep dipping, that may not work out too well for you, right? History tends to repeat itself. So, that's why all chart analysis, essentially you're looking at historical data. No one's got a crystal ball looking into the future. So if you like to buy the dip or if you like to look at, price stability, CI, great way to go. I've even seen and played around with, in VectorVest 7, and even on the mobile app here, if you find a stock with a favorable RS and a favorable CI, typically it's going to have very low volatility. Just saying. So if you don't like volatility in your profile, CI, RS, great things to look at because RS is going to cover the fundamental aspect. CI will cover the technical aspect. Okay. All right, so let's do a couple more of these because we're going to shut it down here in a little bit, just a few minutes. So that way, give you guys a break, grab a coffee, use the restroom, and we can all watch Glenn's live stream on the earnings for Amazon and Apple. Again, if you didn't hear me when we first started, this presentation is going to be a little bit shorter today. We're doing something new. Glenn's doing a live stream to cover Apple and Amazon's earnings. If I had to guess, knowing Glenn, he's probably going to talk more about Apple just because, you know, that's his favorite stock. He loves some Apple. So definitely stick around and watch that. And as far as I know, there will be an alert sent out. For any reason, if you don't get the alert, just go to our VectorVest YouTube channel. And under the live section, it'll probably be the most recent one. So you'll see that. Now, we got growth rate and earnings. This just reflects a company's 1 to 3 year forecasted earnings growth rate in percentage form. So how can the company grow its earnings essentially, right? Now, EPS or earnings per share. I get this call a lot on the support floor when I was working there. Now, I thought Glenn was on vacation today, like he is on every Friday. John, hey, I'm gonna tell Glenn, he stopped taking off Fridays, right? I need to take a vacation. That's for sure. Now, our earnings per share, it is not the same thing you're going to see on your broker because what the broker provides is, current EPS data. Ours is forecasted. It stands for the leading 12-month forecast and earnings per share. Now, if we look at this a little bit further down in this definition, it's a combination of recent earnings performance, traditional and or calendar year earnings forecast. So it's a way to look into the future, right? We look for companies with rising EPS just because that is really going to be the engine to drive a stock price even higher, is the ability to have positive earnings and grow its earnings going into the future. So typically if you're a longer term, medium to longer term investor, EPS is a great thing, and even GRT, so if you're trying to get into, longer term positions, definitely don't ignore those. Now you got some price to earnings, ratio. We're going to skip that one for now. Pretty much it's just going to be ratio, the price, per the EPS. We're going to scroll down here. So dividend yield, pretty self-explanatory. It just compares the dividend to the price of the stock, puts it in percentage form. That is the yield, right? So we're going to go into dividend safety. Again, like I said, I saw a lot of twos there earlier today. So people are bearish. So, if you want to get into safer positions, do some dividend strategies, trust me, not the worst idea. Definitely diversify with the MTI level so high right now. If you're not taking caution with the MTI levels this high, and even Glenn mentioned, our founder, Dr. Toledo, met the guy, incredible human being, very smart individual. He came out with some essays about July high, right? Well, unless we break that high earlier this month, that essay, or actually there was a July high. So we don't break July's high. Now I already forget it's August. There might be, some conviction behind the essay that he wrote years ago. Now, dividend safety. This is an indicator of assurance that the regular cash dividend will be declared and paid at its current or higher rates for the foreseeable future. Now, when I did the oil stock video, I'm younger. I don't have a lot of dividend stocks, but I am starting to get into those. One thing I noticed, if you have a higher yield, typically the safety rating is lower, right? If you have a lower yield, typically the safety rating is high. So finding a good balance between the two, and obviously pairing that up with a good stock, is the route to go. So we got the dividend growth. That's just the forecasted annual growth rate of a company's dividend based on historical dividend payments and dividend predictability. How likely is a company to grow its dividends? And that's pretty much all the indicators. Other than that, one thing I definitely like looking at is the sales growth. Pretty straightforward. Just look at the sales growth rate in percent over the last 12 months. So that gives you some insight into the company. Now, if you are bearish, last thing I want to do. Oh, wait, yeah, featured watch list, premium watch list. They have one here. Index ETFs bearish. So here are your contra ETFs on the index. So they are down today. It is an up day, right? The primary wave is down. However, the confirmed call, the DEW, is up right now. We're not advocating buying any stocks. So if you're in the bearish boat and you want to start hedging your positions, you can do so by contra ETFs. If you know options, obviously you can do covered calls. We do have videos explaining how to execute a covered call, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Jim Penna does a lot of those videos. Again, you just go on YouTube, type in VectorVest covered calls. Great resource. I've watched a lot of those videos when I started learning options in the beginning. I'm actually in the process of trying to teach my mom how to do a covered call. Not the easiest thing to do in the world, but if you learn how to do it, it is a very valuable tool to have in your tool belt. Now, before we go, and highly anticipated video live stream coming up on Amazon, Apple's earnings. I did want to note, OPEC, they did have their meeting today. Oil is up today. So if you are interested in some oil stocks, play to the upside in oil, definitely take advantage of the videos I put out over the last 2 weeks, okay? And if we notice here, looks like we just put in the link for Glenn's live stream at 1 p.m. today. So definitely click on that live stream. He's going to give you some very valuable insight. I saw Amazon gapped up quite a bit from that. I know some individuals that I recommended that stock a while back are probably pretty happy. I think it got up to 143 last time I looked. Apple did gap down off some concerns, but again, Glenn's going to cover this information. Now, before I leave, did we have any questions on some of these indicators? And, if you found this insight, a little bit deeper analysis on how to utilize and the definitions of our indicators, please type a 1 in the comments. Let me know I did a good job. If you thought I did a horrible job, just type a 2. Hopefully I'll improve next time. I want your real feedback here. This is only my second live stream, and all I want to do is just help you guys make money, help you understand the program more, and really, that's what it comes down to. That's why I find pleasure in. I don't want to stir anyone astray. What is the name of the speaker? Oh, Jim, my name is Ryan, by the way. I've been in support probably about 5-6 years, if I had to guess. Just started this position a couple weeks ago. So I've done a lot of the timing. Well, not a lot, but I've done for EU and the UK a lot of the timing the market videos. I doubt a lot of you, unless you guys live there over in EU or the UK, probably don't watch those too much. But I have done a lot, some of the daily color guard reports and timing the markets for the US, as probably the last 6 months I've started stepping into doing some of those. So if you enjoyed that analysis, well, now you get to see my face, and that's probably the biggest difference right now is getting used to my face on camera. Before, that was not an issue because you just saw the software. But hey, guys, I don't expect you to sing as good as Glenn, but can you give it a shot, and we will let you know. Whew, John, whew. I don't know about singing. Not the best singer. What song, John, are you thinking? What song are you thinking? How about this? I will pick a song, I will practice, and the next mobile live stream I do, when I fill in for Glenn, I will give you a little taste. But I am not a karaoke person, and if I ever do karaoke, yeah, I don't do it too much. It's probably been about 10 years since I've done karaoke, John. But hey, you guys have a wonderful day. Give you about 15-minute break before the live stream with Glenn. Again, if you're just tuning in, we posted the link there. That is just going to cover the Amazon and Apple's earnings. He may have some other special treats he talks about, but for the most... Are you the Ryan that worked in support extension 257? Yes, I am 257. Jim, Ryan, you're doing fine. It's like riding a bike. Just grab the handlebars, pedal hard, and keep your eyes open. I like that one. Hey, guys, I definitely appreciate the positive feedback. And, by all means, if you ever have any questions about the indicators, talk to the support staff. There's some great people there. I know there's some new people on the phones, but, take some time. You guys can learn together. That's one thing. When I first started on the phone, you know, I'd find someone that's been in the program. You know, some of you guys been in the program long, you know, for a very long time. So as much as, you know, we can learn, some of these new reps can learn from you, you guys can learn from us, and that's what it's all about, just collaboration and creating a community together. And on that note, see you guys next time, all right? Have a good day.